It's occurred to me recently that it would be easier if I just read aloud from things that I wrote a long time ago. Just for some random stuff related to the theme of these lectures. Remember, these started out as lectures about the similarities between uh, religion and wokeness. Religion has God, wokeness has the state. I guess that's allowed. So it's just something funny. Uh, the Australia Army has put a ban on male recruits in a bid to increase female rank. And new fitness tests have been slashed to 4 push-ups and 4 push-ups. You can get into the Australian Army doing 4 push-ups. I mean, there's a lot of people in the Army never do a thing but type and talk and that kind of thing. So I guess that might not be that weird. But 4 push-ups and 20 sit-ups, you're not even healthy, are you, if you can't do that? This week's list of Army jobs is looking for recruits in 50 roles, but 35 of those are only available to women, including on the front line in the armored cavalry and as a combat engineer. There are currently no jobs available for men in the infantry. Those guys who walk along, right? As a rifleman or as an artilleryman, but both jobs are highlighted as recruit immediately. So they need people in the Australian Army. This is 5 years ago or so, I guess. So recruit immediately if a female candidate comes forward. I'm sorry. A distressed Army recruitment officer said, "This is political correctness gone mad. I don't care if it's man or I just want the best person for the job." Ooh. Postmodernism defined simply and I hope accurately is the belief that there's no truth except the truth that social and political life is all narrative and that white males have dominated that narrative to their advantage for centuries, and so the issue now is to retake that narrative. That took a long time for me to write that. PC itself is religious. Wow. What is cultural Marxism? Wow, I guess I have to read all this, eh? PC itself is religious. I don't know where I got this quote. The core is that, as so brilliantly put in Ross Douthat's column, "A Crisis Our Universities Deserve," that say what you want about the tenets of political correctness, dude, at least it's an ethos. In many ways, the contemporary iteration of PC resembles religion quite closely, as explained excellently in John McWhorter's Closed Minds on Campus. He's the guy, I guess, Jonathan McWhorter. Funny guy, interesting linguist. Resembles religion quite closely, namely with the intense moral fever that surrounds it and the strong ban on heretical thought, speech, and action. This is witnessed most prominently when people point out facts that are inconvenient for the PC movement. So instead of, taking in some information, change his mind a little bit, no, we all know this, cancel culture. When those in the PC movement are incapable of disputing them, the response is invariably that the speaker is being oppressive by threatening their movement. They think critical thinking is oppressive. In essence, PC behavior, whether from Black Lives Matter or the religious right group Moral Majority in the 80s, is a direct consequence of religious-like fervor and zeal, whether or not that the matter at hand is theological. The various leftist movements that control what is and what is not PC draw support by appealing to the sort of people who would enjoy and be susceptible to religion to begin with. So I think you can make the case that it is a consequence of the decline in religion and it has created a religiosity vacuum It has been filled by the contemporary far left. Good enough. Okay, cultural Marxism. What did I think cultural Marxism was 5 years ago? Cultural Marxism arose in the 30s and was a response to the reality that communists had very little chance of provoking a workers' revolution in the West, because in the West, workers were treated fairly. That's a good explanation of what cultural Marxism is. A regular working man could support a family and comfort without too much difficulty. Women could trade their attractiveness and devotion for a comfortable life, and with a bit of luck and effort for entire fortunes. Patriarchal system did guarantee working men, and if you married the right one. Men and women both worked very hard, but not for nothing. Communists discovered that a large part of the West's success was attributable to the family and the church, and so went about destroying both. Again, primarily through propaganda and the university system. Both cultural Marxists and postmodernists want to replace fathers with the state and charity with welfare of various sorts. They have a lot of success and with predictably disastrous consequences. Marxists sought to increase tensions between races, and yet again they have had a lot of success, especially in the United States. Race relations there are getting worse, and this is directly the result of identity politics and victim culture, both of which have been and continue to be egged on by postmodern and cultural Marxist ideologies. So this is Christina Hoff Sommers and Stuart Taylor, Campus Frenzy, the attack on due process. One of the foundational principles of Western society is the right to a fair trial, presumption of innocence, due process, and the right to an attorney, the right to appeal, and the right to confront your accuser. And this has all been abandoned on American universities, key institutions of Western civilization, let's point out. They've all been abandoned on Americans in response to a campus rape culture that's known not to exist. Obama had a quota. Give me your rapist, or I'm going to cut your funding from the federal government. So, predictably, they coughed up. What was it? The campus rape thing. Those weren't criminal charges. So, by dealing with it in the university, they spared the people. A lot of people, the horror of a criminal proceeding. But so many men's lives were ruined. What happens on campus is that they throw crazy parties. Horny young men go to those crazy parties, as do horny young women. They drink too much. They do too much dope, as I think happened within the Brett Kavanaugh case. And unfortunate things happen. One of the things that you could suggest is that if you'd rather not get raped or sexually assaulted, don't go to a party in skimpy clothes and get pissed out of your head and behave in a less vicious manner around men. It'd be a good idea for men not to do that either, because actually I think that the last time I heard, the accusations of sexual assault in women are actually kind of going down, and from men they're going up. So that means that women have gotten them drunk and taken advantage of them. I think that's the most common thing. A whole bit on the transgender thing. Is this just still the basic situation? Yeah, I'm tired of that. The fact of the refugee situation is this. Bringing refugees into Western countries is expensive. With the money it costs to bring one refugee into Europe or Canada, you could make serious improvements to the quality of life between somewhere between 10 and 100 refugees closer to home. And that's without bringing them into Canada. That's it. Not only would different policies help more refugees, they would help maintain the stability of our own cultures. A lot of bad things are done by smiling people who, through willful ignorance, have convinced themselves that they're behaving morally when in fact they're wrong about the two absolutely fundamental things. Wow. John Quincy Adams on Islam. In the 7th century of the Christian era, wandering Arab of the lineage of Hagar, the Egyptian, proclaimed himself as messenger from heaven and spread delusion over an extensive portion of the earth. Adopted from the sublime conception of the Mosaic law, the doctrine of one omnipotent God, he connected indissolubly with it the audacious falsehood that he was himself the apostle and the prophet. So that's Muhammad thinking that he rode a horse to talk to the archangel, whatever, and now the fundamentalists use that as, oh my God, we're connected to God. Same usual thing. The strongest guys can have the most women, 4 or 5. You guys don't have any. If you want, go out and take rape slaves. It was the equivalent of a Holocaust every century in India for 10 centuries in a row. They built great architecture, and a lot of it's still around. A lot of it's still around in Spain. Ooh. Okay, let's forget that. Let's do Winston Churchill on Islam. How dreadful are the curses which Mohammedanism lays on its votaries. Besides the fanatical frenzy, which is dangerous in man as a hydrophobia in a dog, there is a fearful fatalistic apathy. The effects are apparent in many countries. Improvident habits, slovenly systems of agriculture, sluggish methods of commerce, and insecurity of property exist wherever the followers of the prophet rule or live. A degraded sensuality deprives this life of its grace and refinement, the next of its dignity and sanctity. Okay, sorry, Winston, but there's a lot of Muslim men kind of ain't like that, are they at all? And they come into England, and there's a town in England. Imagine this, how hard this would be for a Muslim to accept. There's a town in southern England where the main sort of pub industry revolves around having male strippers doing their party for women that are going to be. It's like a stag party. So it used to be that men had this nasty habit of hiring strippers the night before their wedding. So gross, right? And so now women have taken up themselves. So imagine a Muslim guy. He's looking at this, and he's looking at women that the night before they get married, they get pissed out of their heads and go and watch male strippers. And people who have worked in these kind of places say that gets really nasty. Do you know why? Because the groups fight with each other. So you've got this group is there for this person's bachelorette party, and they fight with each other. So it's just an orgy of outrageous behavior. So what does he say here? A degraded sensuality? Wow. How things change, eh?